Okay, let's dive right in. Imagine for a second that your own body, the very system that's supposed to protect you, suddenly turns against you. It sounds like something out of science fiction, right? Well, today we're talking about Guillain-Barré syndrome. It's a rare and frankly pretty frightening condition that does exactly that. And we're also going to talk about the incredible fight for recovery that follows.
Yeah, this question really gets to the absolute heart of it. What happens when your body's own security system, your immune system, gets its wires crossed and starts attacking your internal wiring? We're talking about your nerves here.
So, this is Guillain-Barré syndrome, or GBS. It's a rare autoimmune disorder, which basically means your body's defenses make a huge mistake. They launch an attack on your peripheral nervous system. Now, what's that? Well, it's the massive network of nerves that connects your brain and spinal cord to, well, literally everything else in your body. And here's the really scary part. This isn't some slow, gradual decline. The attack can go from the very first symptoms to severe disability in just a matter of days.
So, you might be wondering, how does an attack like this even start? Where does it come from?
Believe it or not, it often kicks off with something super common, like a cold or a stomach bug. You know, the kind of thing you get over in a week. Your body fights it off, but then something goes wrong. It's like a devastating case of mistaken identity. The immune system just doesn't shut down properly. It misfires and turns its weapons on your own healthy nerve cells instead.
And the onset is fast, and it follows this really distinct pattern. It usually starts with that pins and needles feeling, numbness and tingling in your feet and legs. But then, it's followed by this progressive muscle weakness that alarmingly creeps its way up the body. Your reflexes start to disappear, and in the worst cases, it can lead to complete paralysis.
Okay, so this rapid progression, it all leads to this critical point, the peak of the illness. And this is where patients really face the most devastating consequences of the syndrome.
At its absolute worst, GBS can just unleash this whole cascade of severe complications. We're talking intense, severe pain, cardiovascular problems like your blood pressure and heart rhythm going haywire, even difficulty just swallowing. But one of the absolute most dangerous complications is respiratory failure. That's what happens when that creeping weakness finally reaches the muscles you need to breathe.
And just to put the severity of this into perspective, think about this number. Roughly a quarter, 25% of all GBS patients will need a machine, a mechanical ventilator, just to be able to breathe during the most critical phase of their illness. That's 1 in 4.
And again, just think about the speed of this. We're talking about reaching the absolute peak of weakness, the worst it's going to get in just 2 to 4 weeks. I mean, most patients hit that point within 2 weeks. And it's only after they've hit that terrifying rock bottom that the long, hard road to recovery can even begin.
But this is where the fight back truly begins. After the storm of that acute phase passes, physiotherapy becomes the absolute cornerstone of recovery. It's all about helping patients start to rebuild everything that was taken from them.
Now, every single recovery journey is different, so it needs a tailored plan. Early on, the goal isn't to go super intense. It's about gently waking up the nervous system and starting to rebuild strength. So you'll see things like static exercises, like isometrics. That's where you tense up a muscle without actually moving. Plus, things like resistance bands and simple daily movements to make sure the joints and muscles don't get stiff and lock up. But look, rebuilding that raw muscle strength? That's really just the first step. The ultimate goal of all this rehab is to reclaim independence, to get back to doing all the little things that make up everyday life.
So this is where the focus really shifts. It's all about translating that new strength into actual function. So that means practicing real-world movements like just sitting up, standing from a chair, and of course, walking. Endurance training, maybe on a stationary bike, is also absolutely crucial for fighting that deep, profound fatigue that can stick around long after the worst is over.
Okay, so a big question is, does the intensity of the rehab program actually matter? And the answer is a resounding yes, absolutely. The research is pretty clear that a supervised, high-intensity program gets much, much better results. And why is that? Well, it's because it actively challenges the nervous system. It encourages it to repair itself and forge brand new pathways. It's a process called neuroplasticity. It's like telling your brain to find a new route when the old one is blocked.
All right, so where does recovery go from here? When we look to the future, it's really a mix of some incredibly exciting innovations and some pretty significant challenges that still need to be overcome.
For one thing, technology is playing a bigger and bigger role. Take robot-assisted gait training.
This tech can physically support patients with severe weakness, letting them practice walking movements way earlier and more intensely than they ever could on their own. It's a total game changer.
And then there's virtual reality, which is also transforming therapy. I mean, let's be honest, rehab can be a long, repetitive grind. But by creating these engaging, almost game-like environments, VR makes those tough exercises way more motivating. And that's absolutely key for getting people to stick with it and see better results.
And what about when you go home? That's where things like telerehabilitation come in. These personalized home exercise programs are showing huge promise. This approach is fantastic because it keeps that continuity of care going long after a patient leaves the hospital. It helps them improve their activity levels and, ultimately, their quality of life in the long run.
But, even with all of this incredible progress, with all this amazing technology, experts in the field consistently point to one major overarching challenge that's still out there.
And here it is. The one thing that all the research seems to agree on is that we just need more research, specifically more high-quality, large-scale clinical trials. We simply need better evidence to know for sure which therapies work best for which patients and at exactly what stage of their recovery.
And that kind of leaves us with a final, really interesting thought to chew on. As all this technology, the robotics, the VR, the telehealth, as it all keeps getting better and more advanced, it holds the key to two things. It's not just about providing better, more engaging therapy. It's also about gathering the huge amounts of data we need for that next big breakthrough. It's about turning all those individual, hard-fought recovery stories into a clear roadmap for everyone who has to fight their way back from GBS.